All right, so real quick, class, I just want to review percents one more time before we move forward. These questions go along with the video that you just watched. So for question 1, what is 90% of 30? So what we're going to do is we are going to turn that 90% into a decimal. So it's going to be 0.9 or 0.90. Doesn't matter. These zeros don't mean anything. So it's completely up to you. Times 30 to find out what 90% 30 is. Just multiply it by the percent as a decimal. So we've got 0.9 times 30, 27. So 27 is 90% of 30. And that makes sense because if you think of it, this is less than 1, right? This is a decimal. So our number should be less than 30. If 30 is the whole, 90% of the whole should be less than the whole. Okay. Now, question 2, 20 is 40% of what number? So this one's trickier to understand, but looking at if we've got this pie, right? And this is roughly 20%. Whoops. That's my bad. Going back, this is roughly 40%, right? Good enough. Now, this 40% is the 20, right? That means that it's just part of it. This whole thing should be bigger than 20, right? Nope, that's wrong. Should be bigger than 20. There we go. Bigger than 20. That makes sense, right? This is 20. This whole thing is bigger than 20. Also, this should be bigger than 20. We're not trying to find out this. We're trying to find out that. Should be definitely bigger than 20. More than double, in fact. If we've got a number less than 40, that can't be right. Okay, so here we go. 20, and we're going to divide by 0.4 for that 40%. And you're going to see that because this is less than 1, if we're dividing a number by something less than 1, you're going to get a bigger number than what you started with. All right, so we've got 20 divided by 0.4, and we have 50, and that makes sense. That's bigger than double 20, right? So there we've got 50. 20 is 40% of 50. Now we've got question 3. What percent of 75 is 15? Okay, so here we've got this giant circle. This whole thing means 75. Now, we've got 15, but we don't know how big this piece of 75 is. Like, I'm going to draw this, but I don't know. It could be that big, could be that big, could be that big. We don't know. We're going to find out how much of 75 is 15. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide 15 by 75. And because this is smaller than this, we're going to get a decimal. That's what we want. Then all we have to do is change that decimal to a percent. So here we have 15 divided by 75. And our answer is 0.2, meaning that 15 is 20% of 75. So I don't know, like that much? Now we know. Great. Now question 4. Question 4 is a little bit trickier. So it's good that we're going to work on it together. Question 4 is a word problem. Miss Turner's chemistry students recently took an exam. Of the 40 students in their class, 16 of them made A's. What percent of the class made A's on the exam? So we've got 40 students, right? And 16 of them made A's. We don't know what percentage of that 40 is the 16. That's what we're trying to find out. So it's the same as the last problem. It's just a little more complicated because they added words. So we're going to do it the exact same way. So we're going to put the smaller number on top, 16. We're going to divide 40. And we're going to get a decimal. And that decimal, we're going to change it to a percent. That is going to be the percent 16 is of 40. Okay. So we've got 16. Whoops. 16 divided by 40. 0.4. Right? So that would mean 40%. So 16 is 40% of 40. Actually, I didn't draw it too terribly. So good enough. All right. Question 5. Last one. So George and his family are out for lunch, and their bill comes out to $36. If they want to leave a 20% tip for the waiter, how much will the tip be? So what they're asking is what is 20% of 36? That's it. So all I have to do is multiply 36 by 20% as a decimal, which is 0.2. I'm going to find out what that is. So 36 times 0.2 is 7.2. But remember, it's money, so we have to add a zero there and a dollar sign. So they're going to tip the waiter $7.20. And just to draw this, just to keep things even, this whole thing is $36, right? Now, 20% is roughly that. And we want to find out what this amount is. Now, we know what it is. It's 7.20. Does that make sense? All right, beautiful. Okay, with that in mind, I now want to take a look at this personal finance lab. This is the actual worksheet that we're working on today. So we're going to be doing sales tax and tips. And we just did tips. Question 5 was tips, right? So we had the $36 and we found out that 20%, that 20% tip was $7.50. So that's what we're doing. And we're also doing sales tax and discounts. So tips, add money. Sales tax, add money. And discounts, subtract money. So we're going to find out what that percentage is and either add it, or subtract it. There we go, in real world scenarios. And that's what matters because this is personal finance. We want to know your personal finance. Okay. Cool. Oh, and it says right here, cool. Okay, so discount, the amount saved and subtracted from the original price of an item to get the discounted price. Okay, so the rate is usually given as a percent. Think about, oh, here we go, 10% off. To find the discount, multiply the rate as a decimal by the original price. Okay, so at the video store, a DVD that sells for $15 is marked 10% off. What's the discount? What's the sale price? So the discount is 0.10, that 10%, times $15, and you got $150. So that's the amount that you're taking off. Now you're going to take that original $15 and subtract the stuff that you're taking off, and then that's your final answer. And it says the discount is $150 and the sales price is $13.50. So we're going to work on question 1 together. So in a department store, a $40 dress is marked save 25%. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply that 40 by 0.25 of that 25% to find out how much we're taking off of the dress. And I'm just going to add this dollar sign just that way we all know which one's which. Okay, so we've got 40. Oh, I know, but go away. Okay, 40 times 0.25 and 10, right? And what this means is that $10 are being taken off the price. So to find out how much we're spending, oh, well, when it says what's the discount, discount's $10. But what are we actually spending? So we're going to take that 40 and subtract the $10, and we know that we are spending $30 on that dress. So that is the sale price. And now that is mental math. But I just wanted to write it out. So I want you to do question 2, question 3, and question 4. In question 4, you're lucky. You don't even have to write how much you're spending. I mean, how much the discount is. You just have to write how much you spend. But don't forget to still do these steps. All right, flipping the page. Let's move on to sales tax. Now, remember, sales tax, we are going to add additional money. So here we go. So the rate is usually given as a percent. To find the tax, multiply the rate by the original price. And then the only difference between this and the discount is that we are adding and not subtracting. So if a sales tax rate is 7.25 in California, then how much would you pay for a pair of shoes that cost $39? So we've got that $39, and we're going to multiply it by 7.25%. But remember, it's divided by 100, so that 7.25% is really 0.0725. I don't want you to get confused and think, oh, it's 7.25. No, you'd be spending more than $39 on that tax. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we've got 39. Remember, we always want a number less than the price that we started with. Okay, 39 times 0.0725. 725. And we find out that the tax on those pairs of shoes is $2.83, right? Because we have to round. I know that I got 82.75, but remember there are only 2 decimal places for money, so I'm just going to round up because that 7 is 5 and above. Okay, now the last step is I have to add this to that to get the final price that you pay. So we've got the 39 plus 283. And you could use it with your brain or you could use a calculator. I'm just going to go ahead and pull that down, add that, and you're going to pay $41.83 for that pair of shoes. Oh, all right, and for our very last example, an additional amount paid to a person, the tip. I mean, I'm sure you've been to a restaurant. I'm sure you've been to Starbucks where they turn that little iPad around. They're like, it's going to ask you a few questions, and then it's like, how much you're going to tip. Like, I'm sure you've been anywhere. We always tip. So the rate is usually given as a percent. To find the tip, multiply the rate as a decimal by the original price. So the same thing as the tax, basically, except the difference is the tax goes to the government, and this goes to a person, unless corporate takes a percent out of it. But hopefully that doesn't happen. So the Smith family went to eat Buffalo Wild Wings. The bill was $43.86. They gave the server a 15% tip. What was the cost of the tip? How much did they pay altogether? So I will be right back. Goodbye. Okie dokie. So we are just going to multiply that 43.86 by the 15% tip, 0.15. At this point, y'all are pros, but I'll do it anyway. And we've got 43.86 times 0.15. Okay, so the tip is going to be 6.5, but remember, there cannot be 3 decimal places, only 2 for money. So we're going to round up to $6.58. Okay, now, so that's the cost of the tip. Now, how much did they pay altogether? So we're just going to add it together. So that the bill price of 43, my bad, 43.86 plus, because we're adding more money on top of it, $6.58. Might be faster to use a calculator, but I'm not going to. That would be, let's see, 14, and that would be 13 plus the 1, so it's 14. And then that would be 0. So the total price is $50.44. And that's it. Have fun.